Hello. Um, okay. Hi to the 10 people or less who are watching this. Today is March 10th, 2025, and I'm back with my February media. I didn't forget, and hopefully this video will be shorter than last time. I've already tried to record this video like 3 times, and the first time I was literally rambling with no aim. The second time I got it right, and I feel like I really nailed my explanations. I was still rambling, but then I realized the audio wasn't recording, or no, the video wasn't recording. The audio was recording, but the video was not, and that just ruined my day. So I didn't come back and record until today, and hopefully today, I'll have some new observations about the media that I consumed in February. Maybe some new insight, but overall the video is going to be the same because it's from February, all the media from February. So yeah, let's just kick it right off with movies and film. So the day I recorded our January media video, I ended up going to see I'm Still Here. It's a Brazilian movie that got released last year and ended up winning an Oscar for Best Foreign Picture, I think. And I think the main performance is Fernanda Torres, who plays the main character of the film. She's the matriarch of this family, and it kind of follows the family's life during the 70s and 80s during a politically turbulent time in Brazil, and the father is basically a political prisoner and he doesn't come back to the family, and so it kind of follows their life after the father disappears and how the family is kind of seeking closure, but at the same time they're just living their life. I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I watched it in theaters with my friend, and we got to the theater about 10 minutes late, which I don't really know if that affected my viewing experience, but I did miss the first 10 minutes of it, unfortunately. But overall, I thought really solid performances, really great cinematography, some good set design, and kind of historical accuracy there. This is probably one of the first films I've seen from Brazilian film, and I think it's a really important film, but a really hard film to be my first Brazilian film. Very serious. And I really do enjoy movies with political context or political undertones in them. But the interesting thing about this film was it felt so documentarian, but at the same time it was a fictional film. There was, like all the actors were not the real people. It was a dramatization. So I think I really had a tough time wrapping my head around that fact, that it wasn't a documentary and that it was like a dramatized retelling of someone's actual life. It was really, I don't know, it was like kind of confusing for me, a little meta. So yeah, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. After that, I rewatched Perdue, which is a French film by Erwan Leduc. And the reason I watched this the first time around was because of Swan Arlo. Big fan of his. He was in Anatomy of a Fall, and then I watched his other films, or some of his other films. It's a film set in early autumn, which is interesting because the first time I watched it, I was very confused about like what time of the year this film was set, and it only really became apparent to me a few months later that it was set like at the end of summer but at the beginning of fall, and that's one of my favorite time periods of the year. Just so much like interesting stuff happens in those months, at the end of August, beginning of September, end of September. I think I just have good memories associated with that time, so I really enjoyed the film because of the seasonal awareness, which is also a theme I talked about in my January media video, like really enjoying films that are seasonally aware. They're not just happening in a vacuum of like time and space. Yeah, I just really like the performances, the chemistry between the lead actors, Maud Wheeler and Swan Arlo just feels like really genuine. I would characterize it as a rom-com because I think there are comedic elements, and the overarching kind of theme of the story is that it's a romance kind of, but it's not a rom-com in the sense of like it's an early 2000s or late 90s romantic comedy that's like big budget. It's a small budget, I think, French film, which I think is really charming, and it takes place in the French countryside or rural France, and it's just a very like it's a romanticize your life but also realistic film. It's an ode to just regular people, which I think is so special. And I don't know, even though I've never been to like rural France, I still feel like I can resonate with, themes and the other notes of the story, because it's not just a romance, it's more like a just story of two people who kind of come together. Oh, I really like the soundtrack. I think it's really cute and charming, and I also enjoy studying to it. I would highly recommend this film. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Objectively, I don't think it's a 4 out of 5 star film, but to me, it's 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, next film. After that, I watched The Girl with the Needle, which is another foreign film that got nominated for Oscar for Best Foreign Picture. And I watched it on Mubi, which is really cool because Mubi was doing a deal at the time where you could get a 3-month-long subscription for $1. I've never had Mubi, but I feel like I'm at that like perfect point where I would actually like appreciate Mubi films. It was a great film. It's from Denmark, which is cool because I went there last year, and I haven't seen that many Danish films. Probably seen more like just Scandinavian films in general, but this one is a period piece. It takes place in Victorian Copenhagen, and I really enjoyed it. It's like a feminist kind of movie. It's a period piece that kind of relies on a lot of period tropes that I've seen in other films, but the way it does it is so actually like historically accurate that it doesn't actually feel like a period drama. It feels like a genuine like historical fiction film. I think the coolest part of it is that they shot this film, or they edited it in post-production in black and white, and that's just such a rare thing nowadays. I think the last film that I saw with black and white was The Lighthouse, like a contemporary release with black and white was The Lighthouse. Overall, I really enjoyed the performances. Like I said, it has a lot of plot points that kind of appear in other period dramas. There's like a heterosexual relationship where the man takes advantage of a woman, or their relationship can't really happen because of socioeconomic factors, and the woman kind of is downtrodden. She's not independent. It's not like an inspiring story or a romantic story. It's just gritty, brutal, and realistic. And I think that's why this works, because in other period dramas, it just feels like kind of poverty porn, where it's just featuring these bad things that happen to this one character who's usually a woman, and they just keep happening. And it's like, what bad things can now happen to, make this drama keep on going? But I think in The Girl with the Needle, it's so realistic and, grounded in history that it doesn't feel like disingenuous to the character. There are moments where she does, have this real happiness, but it's like snatched away from her by, other factors in her life, by people who try to take advantage of her. And I think it just presents the story in a really interesting way, which is why I don't think this film is like straight poverty porn, which, is, I feel, a common denominator in a lot of period dramas and a lot of sometimes women-centric films, where it's just exploiting a character to see how many bad things can happen to them. But in this one, it feels like actually kind of a dignified way of telling her story. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I was kind of struggling between whether to give it 3 or 4 stars, but I think there's a lot of good things about this film that make it merit 4 stars. And the last films I watched this month were Beauty and the Beast, the 1991 version, and the 2017 version. So the 2017 version, I would say it's one of the better, actually, Disney adaptations. Probably the best 2 that I've watched are Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella. Disney adaptations, they're just so... they don't really add anything new to the story. In the 2017 one, there are like new songs, and it's just like, it just feels unnecessary to include some of the songs. I think the performances, again, they're like nothing new. There's nothing new in the material that wasn't already accomplished in the original version. But whatever, I watched it with my sister, and I do unfortunately enjoy the John Legend, Ariana Grande version of Beauty and the Beast. Like the song. But 2 out of 5 stars. 2 out of 5 stars only because it is one of the better Disney live action adaptations. And then the 1991 version, it was interesting because it's been a while since I've gone back and watched the Disney films. And I'm not a Disney adult by any means. Please do not associate me with one of those people. But I watched the film and it was actually nice. I think it's one of the less problematic ones. And it's kind of actually sad to go back and watch these films and realize just how much the quality of Disney animation has gone downhill. I feel like there's something so charming about the 2D animation style that is just so forgotten nowadays. And it's interesting because some of the scenes you can see they're experimenting with 3D animation, but it's very new and like rudimentary, especially considering today's standards for 3D animation. So it's kind of interesting to see that they were, mostly in 2D animation, but trying to go into 3D animation. And the singing is so much better. I think the character voices are a lot better too. And I would say Beauty and the Beast is one of the better Disney princess films as a whole. Not my top favorite, but it's still pretty good. Okay, so that's all the films, and we're already at 20 minutes, so I'm gonna try and go fast. For TV, I did actually watch 2 TV shows. I've come to realize, I don't know if I said this last time, but I've come to realize that I like shorter TV. 50-minute TV shows, just for a lot of TV shows, they are just too long. And I'm not saying this because I have a short attention span. I like watching movies, okay? But I think 50 minutes for TV, especially when it's a 10-episode series, is just so unnecessary to tell a story. Or you don't need 5 subplots, in my opinion, and you don't need to develop those 5 subplots. Also, the way TV is shot is sometimes so unimaginative that when it's condensed into 30-minute episodes, you actually have to think and be more deliberate about the choices you're making. You can't just rely on the script. But anyways, I watched The End of the Effing World, which came out probably in 2018 or 2019. It's pretty old, and the first time I watched it was about 4 years ago during my freshman year of university. So it's been a hot second, and I really enjoyed this rewatch. It, again, I forgot a lot of things that happened in the film. I think I remembered the overarching plot, but there was a lot I had forgotten, so watching this just felt so satisfying. I really enjoyed the cinematography in this, and it kind of has a very Americana vibe to it, even though it's a British production. I really like the nod to architecture and mid-century modern culture that seems to be prevalent kind of throughout the series. I think the screenwriting is also amazing. It just the show is able to say so much with only like a few words, and it's like really just good realistic dialogue, and that's what kind of sets it apart. Oh, also, I think short episodes again, but it's only 2 seasons, and you feel like you want more, but it's just so perfect the way it is. Which is a good transition to the second show I watched, Fleabag, because it's also 2 seasons. It's also very short episodes. I think it's like 6 episodes a season. And it's just another show that feels so satisfying, but at the same time, it doesn't give you everything. Like, one of the best genres of film, just people who know how to stop a series when they've told the story they need to tell. This is like a cult classic, honestly. If you haven't watched this, you're either a man or you're living under a rock and you don't like TV. It's just so self-deprecating and just good writing, humorous, and I think I would still rewatch both of these shows in the future, maybe in like another 5 years, who knows. Okay, moving on to music. I don't think I have a ton of things to say this month in music because I found I've been listening to less music recently. I think this honestly started back a few months ago when I started studying for the LSAT, because I realized I couldn't study while listening to music with lyrics. And even now, sometimes I still don't study with any music at all because it's just too distracting. So I found myself to be listening to less and less music. I only really listen to music when I'm in the car. And, sometimes at home I'll feel in a mood to listen to music, but maybe I'm just in a music rut. I'm not sure. I still love music, but I think it's also because I associate music with like my life. And so I think when my life gets a little less eventful, I tend to not listen to music as much, which is a little sad, but I think I've still been finding some good music. It's just at a slower pace than maybe what I was consuming before, which is honestly okay. And I feel like now I could listen to CDs instead of, making playlists on Spotify every single second, which is good. Because one day I need to get off streaming services. Like, I cannot be paying for Spotify for the rest of my life. Like, hello, I'm 23. I can't be paying for Spotify for 50 more years if I even live that long. But anyways, songs I enjoyed in February. I don't know why I didn't get Cowboy Carter when it first came out, but I was like, what is this country music? Like, I had really liked Renaissance, which is like house, pop, kind of electronic music. And I was like, what in the world? Country music? I don't know about that. I watched Beyonce's Christmas halftime show, and yeah, I just enjoy like the songs 16 Carriages, Bodyguard, Jolene, Blackbird. I don't know why. Really also enjoying Arlo Parks' Portrait 400 and Too Good. Kind of vibey, chill music. I don't know how to describe it. Sade. Oh, I brought her CD because I've been listening to this in the car. I got this a few months ago. It's a best of CD. This CD doesn't actually have it, which is sad, but I've been enjoying When Am I Going to Make a Living. I think I just love Sade's music. I think I would also like to get her vinyl, especially the Diamond Life vinyl, because it has like a different version of Smooth Operator. It has a longer version of Hang On to Your Love. It has When Am I Going to Make a Living, which are some of my favorite songs at the moment. I've also been listening to a lot of Chet Baker. I think his music is chill. It's great to cook to. The songs from him that I found this month were You Make Me Feel So Young, and then I kind of rediscovered the song That Old Feeling. Other songs, still been enjoying all the Maria stuff from last month. I found Ruthless and Spin Me Around. I think I like Ruthless a lot. There's like a really groovy trumpet part in that song. Two songs I got from The End of the Effing World were Care a Little by Bernadette Carroll, who also released Laughing on the Inside, Crying on the Outside, and then Setting the Woods on Fire by Hank Williams, which I don't really, don't usually gravitate towards folky songs usually, but the way they used this in the show was like so good, so I had to download it and put it in a playlist. Super short music section. Let's move on to books, which will also be incredibly short because I just didn't read that much this month. I think I go through periods where I read a lot and then periods where I just don't read at all, which is sad, but usually when I'm like studying or like when I'm studying for the LSAT, I just can't bring myself to read a lot of fiction. I read shorter kind of things. It's just like the brain that I need for the LSAT is not necessarily a fiction brain. It's a brain that can read nonfiction. So when I'm studying for the LSAT, I'll read like news articles and things more, versus when I'm not studying, I'll gravitate towards fiction because it's like I feel like I can immerse myself better in it and I appreciate it a bit more. Still reading The Book Thief. Please by my next favorites video, please let me have finished this book. I tried to start this book probably in high school, and the reading or the narration style just didn't work for me, and I think that is still true today. It's not my favorite way of telling a story, so I think for that reason I'm still struggling to get through it, and I keep on picking it up and putting it back down, so it's like even harder to read because I'll just start and stop reading it, and then I'm like confused about where I am in the story, and it's just not working out. But I would like to finish this, and hopefully that will happen by the next video. Second book, I started reading this even though I probably shouldn't have, because I think it's also throwing a wrench in my finishing of The Book Thief. But my friend got this for me, and I mentioned the film in my last media video. I'm thinking of ending things, and obviously I enjoyed the film enough to include it in my media video and talk about it. And I was like, oh, I should read the book for this because the film is based off the book. Interestingly, the book actually has a lot of different material from what ended up getting adapted into the film. Reading this is going to be an interesting read because it's going to be different from what was in the film. This really should be a short read. It's like 250 pages, and the text in this edition is pretty big, or the spacing. So I think I'll enjoy this. Again, I need to finish it, but hopefully by next month I'll have finished these. Yay. That's all for February. We're only 10 days into March, and I feel like I haven't consumed that much media. So, I don't know. I'll see what happens in March, the rest of March. Hopefully something interesting. And I'll be back in April to record my March video. So, see you in a month to the 10 people watching this.